Welcome back to the Scare Valley Podcast. Pete, we're talking Speak No Evil and Speak No Evil today.
The movie's so nice, I saw it 2 times.
I was going to say, you're going to say they made it twice.
They did. They would have made that was way better than what I had. Off to a good start.
Well, this was originally going to be part of our after Thanksgiving mashed potato mash. Is it the after Thanksgiving mashed potato mashup, or is it Pete's after Thanksgiving mashed potato mashup?
I have no idea.
Is it?
I think it's just an after because leftovers are for everybody, right?
I guess.
I just when I said that, I looked at you and I made eye contact and I said, "I'll eat your leftovers," and I didn't say that out loud. 'Cause
I was going to say, like, your logic is flawless. I can't deny that. So this was originally going to be a part of that. And then I thought, there's so much good stuff to talk about. We're going to pull it into its own episode. And today we're going to find out if that theory was correct.
I have notes.
That's actually not why we pulled it out.
Why did we pull it out?
Because I couldn't count correctly. And I had an extra week to play with him for our 100th episode.
Counting is hard, man. There's no shame.
I'm really good at math, but counting has always actually been... I have a harder time with counting than I do complex equations. That's actually true.
I believe it.
I don't know why I have trouble with that.
I'm good right up till 21.
And I wasn't counting from like 1 to 100. I was counting from, we're on 93. And then I still screwed it up when I was like, I got an extra week that I didn't plan for.
Well, so we're doing Speak No Evil.
And Speak No Evil.
But more importantly, so my fantasy football team
you want to talk about it right away?
I want to know right away because that's what I was talking about before we started.
Yeah.
I understand my family was in town, a surprise visit, so I got super duper excited, and I didn't set I left out my tight end, and I knew that was going to hurt.
Let's set the scene here.
What's the scene? I know the scene. I was in the playoffs miraculously.
We were both in the playoffs. I was facing one person. You were facing the guy who wins the league almost all the time, who keeps getting away with it. And you've been to the finals 3 other times. I've been to the finals twice. You've been in the league twice as long as I have.
I know. I'm good.
You are 0-3. I am 1-1, facing this same unnamed gentleman who keeps winning the league. He beat me by half a point the first time. The next year, I beat him by 50. And then I have been in the basement ever since. Literally sitting in the basement telling you about how I failed so miserably that I finished in last place 2 years in a row. And last year finished like third last. This year we expanded the league because it was a pitiful 8-team league.
That's how you get your wins, man. I've been there 3 times.
Well, you should have been there again.
I know.
You didn't lose. You tied.
It's the second time I've tied this season.
We're going
to
get to that. Because I've done some work on this. Because I was watching the game with about 5 minutes to go in both games. And you had 3 players playing, and he had 2. But his players were up big, and I was like, they're not going to play them anymore. And they didn't. And I was like, you just need 1/2 of a point anywhere. And then your team your players just never had the ball. And I was like, he's going to tie, and he's going to lose on the tiebreaker, which is quarterback points.
Yeah.
Now, it's so much worse than you think, because I know what you think the main problem was, and it was. You forgot to take an injured tight end out of your lineup. You had 2 tight ends on your bench. One that got 4 points, one that got 2 points, either one of which would have put you in the finals. Now, it's much worse than that because you had DeAndre Swift.
I saw his touchdown get taken away.
That's one. Mm-hmm. He also finished with 79 yards, Pete, which means if he had 1 more yard, you'd have been in the finals. And he was stopped on 4th and 1 2 times.
Ooh.
And this is dumber than that, though. I did some actual math on this because I was so fascinated by your tie failure. Because it should have been you and me in the finals because I won.
Right.
Even though I made every bad lineup decision I could make, I left 3 players with over 25 points on my bench for guys that did nothing. But my opponent had the worst day you could possibly have in fantasy football. So I got away with mine. If you hadn't tied 2 weeks ago and lost on the same tiebreaker, you would have been in 3rd place. And I would have been in 4th place. And you would have played the person who only put up 84 points, and you would have just cakewalked into the finals. So your quarterback tiebreaker points have cost you twice.
Yeah.
The funniest part is your quarterback is Sam Darnold. The week in between the 2 failures, he put up like 45 points.
I know. And my quarterback before him was Bo Nix, who also, if I had started, I would have won.
Oh, you could have almost done anything in one.
I know.
I understood why you didn't change the tight end because I knew you were busy. And if I'd have known, I would have texted you. I didn't notice till the game started.
I didn't either. Yeah. And I was like, shit, because I didn't even check. I was gone. We had a winter festival to go to.
Yeah, I didn't notice, or else I would have said something.
I appreciate that.
Well, I wanted to play you in the final because here's the thing. Ben Grimm. Here's the
He's
issue.
back, baby.
If I play you, I recognize that the entire league is rooting for you because you've never won the championship. And I'll be the bad guy. That's fine.
Sorry, they'd be rooting against me.
Well, that's probably true. But I was rooting for you to get to the finals because if I lose to you, that's fine. I don't want to lose to the same person again. Like, ever.
Well, it is his turn.
I beat him last time we faced off in the finals.
But he beat you the first time. So it's
the first time. So we're going to have our tiebreaker.
Ooh.
And thankfully, it's not quarterback points.
Well, I'll be back next year. I'll be back.
Well, I'll be back next year. But we discussed this only briefly on the podcast. My team was the highest scoring team in the league. It was 7-7. It was a disastrous season of results. And a 5-way tie put me into third place. And then I just cakewalked into the finals. And I feel pretty good about it, honestly, because even though I started every wrong player last week, they're still on my team.
I'm still not entirely sure how my team made the finals.
No, we both finished 7-7, tied with 3 other teams. And we were the ones that got through the tiebreaker. And
got me. But my journey has ended.
And if you're thinking, well, the tiebreaker is obviously most points, it wasn't. So I'm not sure how we were the ones that got out of that pile. And I don't have to know. All I know is that I watched you tie, and with 5 minutes to go, game time in the one game, I was like, he's going to tie him, and he's going to lose on the tiebreaker. And he started a tight end that didn't play.
I didn't look at the scores. I refused to touch fantasy football because I knew just how it's going to keep me up all night if I do this. So
it kept me up all night because I was looking
I
up
just went to bed.
All the different ways you could have just easily walked into the finals. And nobody wants to see on our league board. When you click on the league page, the guy who runs the league writes a brief message before the playoffs every year. And he was just like, well, it's me versus Brian and it's Pete versus this other guy. And he's like, so good luck to everyone except for that other guy. You've had enough. Like, that is the state of the league. And you let him get back so he can beat me. And this is the guy who I once lost a game to because my quarterback threw an interception to his defense and I lost by half a point. And the last play of the Monday night game. And this is the guy who I played in the finals. And Christian McCaffrey, I was up by 2.5 points. Christian McCaffrey got 2 garbage time receptions down 3 scores, and I lost by half a point in the finals. You let him back.
Hey, man, I did the least I could do, and it's paid off.
He took a 0 on Cooper Kupp.
I saw that.
I was like, you're going to win.
That was going to gave me hope. And then I don't know what happened.
I believed in you. And that was my mistake.
I never bet on Pete. It's like the opposite of Wesley Snipes.
I know. So I thought we were going to come here today and we were going to discuss how we're playing each other in the finals.
Nope.
And something much more fun happened.
So that was Speak No Evil. Next week we're going to be back with.
Now we got to talk about the remake of our fantasy playoffs. And this time, Pete, you're going to have a happier ending.
Just like in the movies. That was a segue, sir.
It's a great segue.
That was a segue for the ages.
It was a great segue. So I think the best way to tackle this topic is to do a plot synopsis for the first hour of each movie since they're pretty much identical.
How did you put it? It's making adult friends or making friends as adults?
Pete, I've known you for 30 years. We have been friends since 9th grade. And if I met you 10 years later, I would never have talked to you because every adult that you don't know is going to murder you if you try to be friends with them.
That's why I don't join the PTA, man.
That's why?
That's why. Also, they require things.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Effort and work. They seem nice, though. And they do a lot of nice things.
Yeah. Are they adults?
Yeah.
Run away.
Okay.
They're crazy. There's no sane adult person that makes a friend.
No.
You get what you get. If by the time you're 28, I'm sorry, I don't have any friends. Well, you missed out. All my friends died. Well, that's too bad for you. You're out.
Maybe at that point it's worth it. Like they're like, all right, I know I'm going to be murdered and my children are going to be stolen, but I will have a friend for a little bit.
Just think about it though. Like anytime your mom will be like, it's like, oh, I made this new friend. Be like, that sounds crazy. Does it ever not sound crazy?
No, it really doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't sound crazy to you?
No, it does sound crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like.
I was thinking about it in my head.
Could you imagine like coming home and telling Kitty like, oh, I made a new friend today? That's insanity.
I'm trying to imagine it now. I think I might. I can see myself doing that. I don't know who it would be, though.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to make any new friends. You don't work at a job that's conducive to making new friends because you go places, put up lights, and then go back. You don't have to see the same people all the time.
No.
Like I made new quote-unquote friends at my last job, and guess how many of them I've talked to ever since I left?
Hey, that's what happened at my last job.
0 people, 0 times. The only person I talk to that works there is a person that I've known since 6th grade. Because you can make friends when you're young.
I guess so. College is the oldest friends I have.
Yeah, that's about the time you're supposed to stop.
All right.
Once you leave college and you're an adult and you're expected to do adult things, you can't make adult friends.
But that's not what these people did.
So a family, it's a husband, a wife, and their daughter is on vacation, and they meet another family with a father, a mother, and a little boy.
Did you say husband, wife the first time and then mother, father the second time?
Yeah, even though it's completely incorrect if you really think about the plot of the movie.
Boy, ever.
I'm concealing the secrets, Pete.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler alerts.
Man, woman, child, and they all make adult friends, which is, again, the craziest fucking thing. Right from the get-go, the first time I watched the first movie, I watched the original first, just like you did. The first time I watched it, 5 minutes in, I was like, well, this seems like a bad idea. And they're doing nothing but polite and nice and kind. I'm like, this seems like a disaster waiting to happen.
It's being invited to a house. That's the weird part. Like,
yes.
Once they get invited back
Pete, I thought it was weird before that.
I know.
I thought it was weird when they sat down at dinner and started talking to them. I'm like, don't do that.
Okay.
You have your own family.
No, I want to jump back to real quick. So the first one, the original, came out like 2 years ago or something,
just
right?
2022.
And then this one came out in 2024.
Yeah.
And this one, I've heard the first one because you mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
And then you said, go watch this movie. It's great.
I did not say that. I did say it's great. I did not say watch it. I said, Pete, this will destroy you. Which I did not give you that warning in 2023 about when evil lurks.
No, you didn't tell me. When evil lurks.
I didn't give you that about when evil lurks. But also, I don't think when evil lurks is as destructive to my soul as the original Speak No Evil is.
I will agree with that, but I went in with a much harder heart. You have hardened my heart, making me watch these horrible movies with these horrible things. But I went in knowing, when you first told me about it, for some reason, I thought it was something about you told me it was like kids, and the kids are. And then when it was called Speak No Evil, I thought it vaguely had something to do with the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right, but it was way different. So I kind of had a confused idea of what I was about to watch, but I was expecting it to be bad, and it was.
I think the second thing I told you about the movie after I watched this thing, and then I had to stare at the wall and the ceiling for a while because I just had to question the purpose of mankind and the evil in humanity. I think the thing I said when I heard they were making a remake, the first thing I said to you was, there's no way they use that ending. And you hadn't seen the movie yet. I was like, no. I'm just telling you, there is a 0.0% chance they use that ending. But we'll get to the ending in a second.
Yeah.
Couple meets up. Guy that's from... Now, in the original Danish version, it worked a little differently because they're in a third country. So it's people from two different countries meeting. So what makes it really kind of cool is that there's a language barrier, but they both speak English. So despite it being a Danish movie, the movie is like 90% in English anyway.
Yeah.
And they use language in a good way because they can talk to each other in a way the other families can't understand if they have to. And it's a cool thing that's kind of lost in the new one.
Right.
But they're all on vacation in a third place, and they're in Europe where, they're the size of a mall, so you can just get to another country in a minute. You can't do that in the US. Or they're in England, I think.
They are.
Yeah.
Yep. It's England and Wales, I believe.
That's right, because the family that's going to get stuck in this bad situation is over there for work that's not going well.
Yes. Okay. In the remake.
In the remake. So this time they're just on vacation in the original, and we'll take both of them. They're meet up on a vacation. They go over to, it's Patrick in one, I think it's Patty in the other, so just Patrick's house with his family, and quickly discover that you shouldn't make friends as an adult. And their son has an affliction where he doesn't communicate very well, and then you come to find out that his tongue has been cut out.
That's an affliction.
Something that they put in the trailer of the new one, which boggled my mind until I saw the movie. And then I understood why, which I'll give them credit for. Now, the movies are basically the same for an hour.
For the hour. They go meet the family. Things get weird. It's all microaggressions. Like Patty and his wife and the kid with the affliction is... Like, there's just tiny, tiny, tiny little things that just keep happening. I'm a vegetarian. I served you meat. Oh, I apologize. Everything is just so aggressive.
The first half of the movie, the first 45 minutes or so, of both, really, but I think mostly about the original, a lot of it can be dismissed as cultural differences, which is harder to do in the remake because they're not that different, England and U.S.
Part of the... So which one did you like better?
I like the original better. And that's nothing. There are aspects of the new one that are vastly superior to the original. I'm thinking mostly about how good James McAvoy is.
Yeah, McAvoy's great.
But Mackenzie Davis too, and Scoot McNairy. I think the cast is better in the original. And again, they're speaking English in both. But these are, I think it's a higher quality actors. I think there's a better quality filmmaking. But Even dismissing that the ending, I vastly prefer the original.
So in the first one, everyone dies. The child is kidnapped. The end.
I mean, it's a little heavier than that because the moment I realized what was happening was basically the darkest moment of my life.
What part was that?
When the family's friend kidnaps their daughter, and you realize her tongue's about to be cut out.
Oh God, yes.
It was worse than even the ending of the movie, which is the couple stripped naked, put into a quarry, and then stoned
They weren't
to
stripped.
death.
They stripped themselves because they were so broken and
Yeah.
defeated. And the reasoning in both movies was because, like, why did you do this to us? Because you let us.
Yeah.
They're just broken. They were awful. Yeah. So then they're stoned to death and the end.
Yeah, they're stoned to death. Spoilers for these movies, I guess. I should have said that at the beginning. But the end, except they've now taken their daughter and they're just going to repeat the cycle because they find a book partway through near the end of the movie, right when the climax is going to start, of they've done this several times.
Oh, yeah. Like
they are killing
pictures
people, stealing their children, cutting their tongues out so they can't tell anybody. And then when they get done with that child, they go get another one.
Right. You don't know if it's just because Patty is like increasingly angry at the child. So you see this abuse happening too. God, it's a fucking awful movie.
It is.
It's just awful.
Like I said, I think it's much darker than When Evil Lurks.
And Jesus Christ, it was terrible. It was more believable. The characters, I think it worked better for all the reasons you say.
Mm-hmm.
With McAvoy, better actor, it was too much. I think he was overacting almost. Not over, it was just he knew what he was.
I would agree if he was in the original movie, but this is what makes the remake way better than I think it should be. Not specifically the choices he's making, but the way the remake goes. Because I think, what a worthless thing to do. The movie's in fucking English anyway, first of all. Secondly, it's 2 years old.
Yeah.
And thirdly,
why did
you're
they?
not going to use the whole point of the movie.
Who was it? Blumhouse who did this new one? Okay.
But you're not going to even use the thing that makes the movie so memorable.
Right.
I knew it. Without having to see it, I just knew that they weren't going to. What I wasn't anticipating was that being 100% the correct decision for this movie. 100%. Because a watered-down version of what they did the first time would not work. It would be worse. And because of the emotional damage the original movie did to me and you and pretty much anybody who saw it, I'd imagine, having this radical departure happen an hour into the movie allows you to heal some scars, have two sets of memories about what happened. I called it a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, fair.
Where things go a little differently. You can get away with, they save the little boy, they kill Patty, they kill his wife, and I'm watching it happen, and I'm like, I should be really annoyed right now, but instead I feel healed.
It was nice. It was cathartic, and it was the way things. I was worried that it was just going to be the family that gets away, and the mother, father, little girl. But no, they saved the kid too.
The little kid
who's already
kills Patty. He gets and I'm like, after watching 2 movies of him being abused by this man, I was so happy, and I was like, I can't believe I'm walking out of Speak No Evil happy.
Now the father.
Yeah,
I feel like
he's a beta cuck.
He was an even bigger beta cuck in the remake.
Yeah,
he did
there's
nothing.
There's no subtlety in the American one. This is kind of what I was getting at.
Yep, there's no subtlety. That's what it is. I was trying to.
This is kind of what I was getting at. Like, the reason I like the performance of McAvoy for this movie is because he's got to ramp up over the course. Everything's ramped up in the movie. It's very Americanized. It's very Westernized.
Yeah,
and I think that is why it works. And like, I like the original better. I like, no question. But if I was going to watch one,
well, yeah, I'm never going to watch the original again. I'm done, man.
I might.
Nope.
And then I'll just watch the last half hour of
You'll watch the build up
I could do that. I could edit them together, or I can get through the tough parts if I know that, like, or what if I flip back to page 43 and then I made this choice?
No, I can't.
Because it turns into just a straight up
it's thriller,
every home invasion movie you've ever seen. It's just in a different way because they're invading their own home really at that point because they're trapped in Patty's house and they're trying to break into their own house to kill them. And I don't know how this movie plays. It got good reviews, so I'm guessing it plays fine for people that didn't see the original.
My brother was one of these people.
Did he like it?
He said that it was fun. It was fine. McAvoy was just he agrees with the overacting. Just it was too much to like. Oh yeah, he's a bad guy. No subtlety is what he was getting to. Just like you have so accurately pinpointed for us. But yeah, that was his critique of it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just no subtlety.
Well, I know how it plays if you did see the original, as so do you.
Yeah.
It plays in a way I've almost never had a movie play out in front of me, where it's like I watched something the first time and I was like, please do this, please don't do this, or, whichever one, like, please do this instead, or please don't do this to them. And this time they listened. And it's such a crazy thing to have those two sets of memories. Because the darker that movie got, and it wouldn't just work if it was like a dark ending, the darker that original movie got, and it got to places that were so hopeless for me. Watching it again, and them doing the opposite, and the opposite happening was like the most cathartic feeling I've ever had watching a movie. And it's a remake, so it shouldn't feel that, but it does.
No, 100%, because it is. That's what it is. It heals everything. Because the first one, you sit there and all of the microaggressions you can explain away. You can say, oh, that's weird, but you can see yourself in that position getting there. In the remake, I'd walk away the first time fucking McAvoy did something like, fuck you, weirdo, because he was just, it just doesn't, it's American.
But because of the way that the ending of the remake's going to go, I think those were the right choices for that movie.
You think so?
I don't think that it's as empowering for them to overcome these things because they're not going to happen to them. You're not going to get the daughter taken. She's not going to get her tongue cut out. They're not going to get stoned to death. Without those horrific images coming, you have to ramp up the things that you hate about Patty because he's not going to do the actual things you hate about Patrick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're carrying a lot of baggage from.
He doesn't have the
I see.
He doesn't have the benefit of doing the actual horrible things that happen in the original. He has to ramp up the horrible things he does. This microaggressions have to be more macroaggressions because he doesn't have the third act coming.
Yeah, I guess. Ooh.
And he needs to get his payback. Now, this is the thing. This is why I don't know how exactly it plays if I had seen it with fresh eyes. Because I can see Dave's point. He's right. It's too big. But it has to be because I know where it's going. But the problem with the remake, which again, I gave 3.5 out of 5. I think it's like shockingly good. It shouldn't be as good as it is. But its power still comes from the original. Because all the things I'm thinking about while I'm watching the movie are from the original. It's almost unearned in a way, which is why, again, those performances have to be bigger, the moments have to be bigger, because it's not going to be able to rely on that for the average moviegoer. That's why I'm so curious if I could have seen it. I don't want to have seen it that way, but I wish I could have the memories of seeing it the opposite.
I get what you're saying.
I don't know how it would have worked. I feel like it would have been like a good movie. And I feel like I'm bumping it up because I've seen the original movie. And it makes the original better in some ways to me, in retrospect. But it also, it takes what the original did and uses it to fuel something that shouldn't be as good as it is.
It kind of feels like Cobra Kai. In that, hey, this thing came out. I didn't necessarily like hate the ending of the saga that was Karate Kid, but it's like it's coming back to this franchise or this idea.
Who asked for that?
Yeah, who asked for it? Nobody. But we're coming back to it, and we're going to give it like a happy little spin that wasn't there the first time.
And it's incredible.
We're going to have some fun with it, and that's what this remake is.
And it's going to be 6 years of fun. And how did that happen? I don't know, because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No, I mean, I wouldn't go that far with the remake of Speak No Evil, but I feel it's that same kind of vibe where it was.
Maybe some of it for me is just like thinking back to watching that movie in 2022. It's right when I started ScareValue.com. It was one of the first movies we talked about. Going back to watching it and then just thinking, imagine in 2 years you're going to be sitting in the theater and it's going to be a popcorn flick. That's insanity. And I would have hated everything about it. And then I watched it and I was like, but it worked? It's madness that
because
it worked.
It's a home invasion like action thriller by the second half.
Except it's a good one. And I wonder how, again, I can't ever tell you how much that's stealing from the original that it works as well as it does. Because the right choice again was to basically just almost shot for shot remake that fucking first hour. Because if you have seen the original, you can't separate them.
Yep.
Because it's showing you them again.
So it's just, it's a vague disquiet that it has to, for all the reasons you point out, it has to be ramped up, the performance of Patty or Patrick. Which one is the remake? Patty?
I think it's Patty. Patrick in both. They call him Patty in the new one.
Well, it's McAvoy. The new Wolverine, by the way. You never responded.
Of course I didn't respond to that.
I texted you. He looks like Wolverine walking around, especially there was a shot.
I did reply to you, Pete. I wrote, he played Professor X, right?
Yeah, but there's a multiverse now. Anything can happen, and he looks like I'm replacing Bob Hoskins in my mind as Wolverine.
Well, it's a good thing because I got some news for you on Bob Hoskins.
Oh no!
Yeah, from about 10 years ago.
What?
You're going to want to sit down for it.
Well, then it's good that I found a replacement. Professor X has aged into a very nice Wolverine, and he's short. Everything works out. He'd be a great Wolverine.
Why is Wolverine always Australian or English?
I don't know. That's close to Canada, right?
Yeah, he's got to be Canadian. I guess Britain is kind of like Canada.
Let's make Ryan Reynolds Wolverine.
I forgot Wolverine was Canadian.
Dude, that's fair. All right. But anyway, so I had a point before I got distracted by how awesome a Wolverine James McAvoy would make. It just, overall, it feels less the second movie because he is ramped up, McAvoy, that it's harder to... no, it's a different movie. It really is. It's a completely different movie.
It's the same movie.
Yeah. Huh.
That's what's so incredible about it. It's the same movie for an hour, and then it's a radically different movie that I didn't know. Now, the original creator of the original, the writer-director of the first movie, did not like the choices to change what they did in the sequel. I know he did some work with the director on it. I know specifically the changes, but he did have a quote of something like, "I just don't understand why American audience, you have to change it this radically for American audiences." And again, I agree with him on the surface, and I could never put my head in his headspace of something he created being turned completely around like that. But as a viewer, I do think they made the right decisions this time.
Did he think that nobody saw the first one?
Nobody really did. The movie bombed even when it came out. You have to have been told to seek it out to even know that it exists.
I feel like it's one of the ones that's talked about though in like the horror online
but that's
community.
not that many people.
It's not.
For
Seems
example,
like a lot of people.
I think the movie didn't make any money, and it didn't get released in the U.S. anyway. But it didn't make any money over there. It caught on VOD and maybe Shudder had it or something.
It was Danish.
It was Danish, and what a dumb place to release a movie. There's like 8 people in Denmark, and something's rotten there too. The new one cost I think $15 million, made $78 million. Big hit. So it made the right calls, and they made it for American audiences, and American audiences went.
And McAvoy, everyone was good in that movie. Yeah.
It's a really high quality production, and it just is. It's stealing the valor of a movie that I think is much bolder. It's superior. It works on levels that this one can't do because it's doing the opposite. But the not trying to do it, I think, is what benefits this remake so much.
You really think a lot about this stuff. You should write it down somewhere.
There's reviews for both these movies on the site, and a lot of this conversation takes place in the review of the last Speak No Evil.
Oh, I don't disagree.
You shouldn't write reviews.
What are you talking about? My reviews would be great. Pretty good. And there's no word count, is there? That would be rough.
Who's counting? I can't count. You already know that. The shorter the distance, the harder it is for me to count.
I always struggled with word counts. I hated being told I had to count. Even if I would blow past it, as soon as someone would put a number that I had to reach, I would just shut down. Like, don't tell me what I have to do. And I would refuse to. So no word count, you say?
I recommend watching it in the order that
it came out.
Yes, because I don't think that you'll enjoy the new one as much without having seen the original. And I don't think you'll like watching the original after getting the happy ending first.
That first one is so creepifying.
It is unsettling in a way that I have not been unsettled ever at a movie. And the slow build of the oddities work to ramp it up. But then when that fucking third act hits, when that little girl's in the car, I'm just like, when you realize what's going to happen to her and that they're going to lose, and I'm just like, oh my God.
But it's like gone. Like everything happens in that like few seconds. Then you're just left with you're watching them in their shock and in their trauma for, I don't know how long it was screen time, but it felt like forever. And I'm just sitting there going, please just end. And I was in there ready for all of this. I'm like, please just end. Like, just end the movie.
Yeah. It's as dark as a movie I think can get, really.
Yeah. Why do you keep telling me to watch these?
I didn't tell you to watch that. Now, I say that, but also because it isn't having any fun with in the third act. I think it is having fun with it for 2 acts, the original. It is like a slightly dark comedy for a little bit.
You think so?
Before you realize the severity of their situation. The misunderstandings that aren't misunderstandings. I think there is some good dark humor in there. Once you get to the book and they see what's been happening, I don't think that there is any. It's very bleak. Now, the new one can play with it a little bit more because they're not going to that bleak ending.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit different there. Now, the thing I was going to compare it to was the coffee table.
Which the coffee table was the one where the guy like accidentally kills his baby.
Yes.
Okay.
And then can't tell anyone.
So he sits there for like a few hours, like freaking out, but there's people around.
We sit there for an hour and a half watching this man trying to figure out what to do. He can't tell his wife. His brother and his brother's girlfriend are now there. The baby's head is under the chair. The baby's wrapped up in the bed, and he's just trying to find excuses to have people not go in there. And the movie is
it played for laughs?
Not laugh out loud like that. It is, though, darkly funny because you reach a point where there's nothing else you can do. You feel so hollowed out that it just, you have to laugh at it.
God damn,
And that's how that movie is. I've said it before. Hereditary has that 5 minutes where it's devastating. But it's only those 5 minutes. The rest of the movie is so weird and interesting and different, and I think that you'll really like the rest of it.
I feel like Hereditary is weak sauce compared to the stuff I've seen.
Yeah, the coffee table does that 5 minutes for an hour and a half, and it's an interesting idea because it works. It works, I would say, terrifically for a unique experience. You're not going to feel comfortable the entire time, but oh boy, it's a choice. Now, Speak No Evil kind of has the coffee table like fun with it early, where I think we're in danger. It's like Ralph Wiggum on the bus. I'm in danger, but then it turns into, oh no, the danger is like so much worse. There were times watching the original movie where I thought this could all be a misunderstanding. Like I really thought
you're right.
that this could all be they're being paranoid and it's much. It works because it's so much worse than they thought it could have been.
Well, okay, I'm going to use the example where Patty, he introduces himself as a doctor.
Yeah.
And then he explains it away later when he's like, oh, I'm not a doctor. And they're like, what? And he's like, I get nervous in social situations and I say things. I found it believable in the first one.
Yeah.
And then in the remake, it's somehow just, no, you're clearly just being a jerk. There's something wrong with you, McAvoy, but you have to because you have to ramp it up.
Yes. Now, I think the other thing that's really important to talk about with this movie is the marketing. We touched on it briefly about how they just threw in that this kid had no tongue. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Insane.
I hadn't seen either movie yet, but I had seen in fact, that was what really pushed me to watch it was I saw that trailer on every movie and I don't see many movies, but I saw it everywhere.
Pete, I see a lot of movies. I watched this trailer, the original one. They did eventually give us a break and put out a second trailer.
It must have been an exciting moment.
Pete, then I saw that second trailer so many times because these trailers were in theaters for 6 fucking months. I saw that second trailer so many times that once, like about 2 weeks before the movie came out, on one of these loops of seeing movies, one time I had to see 4 movies in 2 days. I saw that trailer 4 fucking times, but on the 4th time, it was the first trailer again, and I felt like
Easter egg.
I felt like truly blessed that day. Because I had seen the second trailer so many times, which was after we were already making fun of how often we were seeing the first trailer. Because this movie was on comedies, it was on dramas, it was on horror movies, it was on every. You could not escape it.
I think it was on kids' movies because I saw it with my kids in a theater.
You could not escape this trailer. It was everywhere.
Right. And knowing nothing about the movie, I knew that kid had no tongue, and I knew the parents probably cut it out
To the point where, well, he puts his fingers and he shows that it was cut off. It can't just show you that his tongue's gone. He has to. Because that could be a condition. He has to take his fingers and do scissors in front of his face. So and I'm like, why are they showing that? Then I saw the movie and I was like, because it's doing the opposite thing. And I really, it's weird because like I'm not anti-remakes. I think most of them are trash because most of them have nothing original to say. Because this one wanted to heal the scars of the first one so badly, it actually did find original things to say, which is very rare in remakes. I think that, like, I don't hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which is a miracle because it's not great, but it's like, you know what? For trying to remake that movie, it's like you did fine. I think they did fine. And I love the Hills Have Eyes remake. That's probably my favorite remake. And the Evil Dead remake. Although you don't have to call Evil Dead a remake if you don't want to. It just takes place in an alternate universe. No, Evil Dead.
Oh, the 2013. Yeah.
You don't have to call that a remake if you don't want to. Evil Dead 2 is not a remake. You know this. Evil Dead 2 is a remake for about 15 minutes. And then there's an exact moment where you can just start it from the end of the first movie. It's just recapping.
Yes.
Now, Evil Dead 2013 was kind of pushed as a remake. You don't have to make it one if you don't want to.
I don't feel that they need to. Oh, jumping. Did you see that the animated Bruce Campbell Evil Dead is a go? Yeah. Well, there's a Ash versus, I think, but it's all animated now.
Oh, we're going to get find out what happened.
I think we might. I'm very excited. But what were you saying before I had more interesting things to say?
That remakes are mostly trash.
Oh, the 2013. The Evil Dead, I don't feel that it is in like a linear story. It's just, here's the concept, have fun with it. Here's the Necronomicon.
I guess it's a remake. I don't know. It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be, because it was until Evil Dead Rise came out. It's like, no, you just tell different stories in a shared universe or unshared. It doesn't even matter.
Okay.
Bruce Campbell thinks they're shared because he's like, there's multiple Necronomicons. So these are just the different books that are their stories. And I'm like, I can buy anything, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't
that
really
works.
Matter. Hills Have Eyes is a pure remake, and I think it's.
I've never seen the original. I've only seen the remake.
I think it's the original's good, but I think it's better. I think the remake is one of the most intense. I saw that movie in the theater, and like you could feel everyone in the theater ready to walk out when they're attacking the family.
Who did the remake?
Alexander Aja, I think, the guy that made Crawl, and he made.
I never saw it.
Crawl's great, and there's going to be a Crawl too, and I'm really hoping they make enough that. This is so dumb. You're going to like it because it's a dad joke. It's like, I hope they make enough that he can go to space and they can call it Crawl Space. And he made Never Let Go, which was pretty good. That came out this year. And his first big thing, he made Martyrs. And then that's what got him, I think, into Hollywood to make.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I'd never seen it either, but it's like a movie that it's like 20 years old now that was a big in the horror circles. And it got him to Hollywood to make The Hills Have Eyes. And it was like way better than it should have been. Because that whole streak of making remakes, the Nightmare on Elm Street one's terrible. The Friday the 13th one's pretty good.
Haven't seen any. I missed all of the remakes. And that's the early aughts, right?
It's all of the aughts. Rob Zombie's Halloween. So 2003 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 2006 was Hills Have Eyes. 2007 was Halloween. 2010 was Nightmare on Elm Street. 2013 Evil Dead. Like they got to everything eventually.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Scream 4 came out in 2011, because I think they were probably like, well, we're going to remake Scream, and they were like, let's just do one about remakes. Which is why it's cool that it exists in the middle of that period. Yeah, Hills Have Eyes remake, 2 thumbs way up. But there's great remakes. The Fly's a remake. The Thing's a remake. No, he's Ben Grimm.
Wait, The Thing's not a remake.
Yes, it is. Of The Thing from Outer Space in 1950s.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were talking about the like prequel.
Oh, the prequel.
Yeah, that came out relatively recently.
Yeah, so you can make good remakes. I think the Blob's a remake in the 80s. That's a great movie.
I've only ever seen that. No, I've only ever seen the original. I don't know. Shit. I don't know which one I saw, Brian.
Well, did it have Steve McQueen or Kevin Dillon in it?
I don't know. The question is, did both of them have color?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, because I think the one I saw had color in it.
Well, the 80s one's great. We're going to cover that at some point.
Okay.
It's a really fun movie.
Well, when we do, I'll let you know if that's the one I saw.
It's a fun one. But remakes, like I said, I don't have a personal thing against them. You get some really good stuff out of them. Mostly, I think they're just trying to cash in on something. This one clearly not trying to cash in. It's not like Speak No Evil is a big name, which what drove me nuts about it was, why are you making a sequel? You're not going to use the ending within 2 years of the original coming out. And then I saw it and I understood completely. I just think James Watkins, who made this movie, watched the original and was like, I don't feel good about this at all. I want to save these people.
Right.
And I'm going back. He like time traveled back and he said, I'm going to save you people. I'm going to make this little boy the hero. And having experienced the original, I completely understand his impulse to do so.
But isn't there a just looking back at the beta cuckness that is the father in the remake?
Yeah.
Where he's got the gun and he's sitting there with James McAvoy just on the ground paralyzed. And he's like, oh, I can't even shoot him. I'm not a man. The little kid's like, fucking, you won't. Give me this rock. And he bashes his skull in. Like, just an useless. I can see. Do you think his wife did cheat on him?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because she was like, oh, it was just talking. But then she's at the end, she's like, oh, I did cheat on him.
Yeah,
so you think
100%.
100%. Okay.
Of course.
I wondered.
Both those, it's funny because Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis were both in the show Halt and Catch Fire.
I never saw that one. Is that with
Lee Pace?
Lee Pace.
Yeah. They're both in that show. They're 2 of the 4 leads in the show. So it's kind of funny that they're just married couple.
It's a reunion.
Well, it's funny too because on the show, I believe that the Mackenzie Davis character is supposed to be like 10 years younger than the Scoot McNairy character. Now they're just like husband and wife. And like, it's so strange. Such strange casting. But she's supposed to be the powerful one, and she's supposed to be the leader. So it kind of works anyway, because she has a youth to her, even in this movie, that he doesn't carry because he's just... Now, the reason the first one's scarier in doing it is because there isn't that big of a difference for an hour between the characters. Yes, one of them is more of an alpha, but it's not that profound. His little victories over him are somehow much greater. And in this one, it's like it's a pushover, complete pushover. And then to the point where you wait for him to get his revenge and prove something. He doesn't.
No, at no point.
No, the little boy saves him.
Yeah,
and he's not the hero. And I enjoy that they didn't take that. Because that's the character they decided not to redeem.
It's noticeable. It's like I noticed it, and I don't notice much, but I noticed that. Wow, he did not. At no point did he save anybody. No. He
saved got hurt
by
almost immediately.
He was saved by his wife. Didn't he knock the ladder off?
Because he's a bumbling fucking idiot, and he's scared of everything. And
he's the one who took them into this situation, which happens in the first one.
That she said, let's not do that.
Right. At multiple turns. And for some reason, she just went along with him. I don't know.
She feels guilty about
the cheating.
Yes.
Oh, this whole thing is really got to write these reviews. You call them,
and he's lost his job, and he's sitting there. So she's trying everything she can to save her husband before she tries to save the marriage. So she's just trying to let him be the man, and look where it gets them. But it doesn't get them to as bad a place as the original does. But it's so much more subtle in the original that it's somehow more terrifying.
Because he does get the victories. He says, "Hey, man, this was weird," and Patty's like, "Oh," or Patrick's like, "I'm sorry. I apologize." That's not really the way. Wolverine doesn't apologize.
He's in complete control. But so is he in the original. That character, the Patty characters in the original, is complete control too. You just don't know it, which makes it much more effective. But because this one is doing, it's funny because it's the same movie for an hour, but it's doing the same thing in a way that wants to present it as almost something completely different. Where the original is, I don't know. I mean, I knew because you don't make friends as an adult.
Yeah.
So I carried that in with me.
Your spidey sense was tingling right out of the gate.
Hi, I'm Patrick. Nope.
Fuck you, pal.
You come up and say hello to me, you get the fuck out
First
of here.
name, not just, hey, how's it going? You introduce yourself? No,
I'm
sir.
out. I'm out right then. That's the moment I'm out.
It took me over a year to learn my neighbors' names.
Yeah, I don't even know my neighbors' names.
You got one up on me, man.
I don't want to know anybody.
You're way safer than I am. I'm living dangerously.
One time a dog ran into my front yard, a little puppy, and I could hear him out there. And I went outside and I was like, "Oh, come here." And I was trying to see his tag. And a girl came running down the street and she's like, "Oh, that's my dog." I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." I was like, "Oh, you knew the neighbor?" She's like, "I've lived here for 6 years." She lives 2 doors down. I'm like, "Oh." Then I went back inside. No interest in knowing who you are or what's going on. It's trying to be nice about this dog.
Did I tell you? It was in, I can't remember what apartment I was. It was on Millersport. So it's like college, apartments, just single bedrooms. And we had our own internet, Kitty and I. And it's like 1 a.m. and I'm doing whatever. And I hear a knock at the door. Oh, that's fucking weird. So I go and open it. And it's these two girls who are in the apartment next to us. They're in they're college age. They're in their little night shirts and short shorts. And they're like, "Hey, we noticed you have Wi-Fi. Could we use yours? Like, get the password because we don't have." I'm like looking at them, and then Shrinky comes running. Our cat at the time comes running to the door. And they're like, "Oh, cat, cute!" And they sit down. I'm like, "Get the fuck back in!" And I kick the cat. And they're like, "My wife's in charge of the internet." I shut the door in their faces.
That's that. You want to tell me that story again about how you don't think that you were ever mean to the Rocky Horror Picture Show people?
I wasn't mean, but everyone
in this story, you kicked a cat. You mean slid him back with your feet?
I feel so bad.
Believe me, everybody was worried about what he just said. He couldn't have kicked it. He couldn't have hit it if he tried to. He couldn't rear his leg back to make contact if he wanted to. Especially at that point.
I scooted him back in.
Yeah, that's what he did. There's no way he kicked him.
No, get back in there, you cat. And then I slammed the door on those girls.
Yeah.
Get out of here, college girls.
Well, what was I even saying?
That you don't make friends.
You don't make friends. So in the original one, it's like, this doesn't feel right. This feels a little off. But also, am I being, like, I don't know the word's bigot or whatever, but am I being, because I don't understand their culture, am I being things? In this one, it's like, no, he's insane.
Right.
And you know that. And because the ending's going to be so radically different, and you're going to get your comeuppance on him, it's like presenting the exact same thing. Even the parts that are exactly the same are completely different because of the way they're presented. And that's what I really like about the performance of the McAvoy performance, is because he sells that this isn't the same Speak No Evil. And even though we're going to do the same scenes for an hour, they're going to come across so differently. in a way that's not supposed to be as scary as the original. It's supposed to be like, man up, dude. That's what you're supposed to think the whole movie. And you know, you're supposed to think that in the original. In the new one, you're supposed to look at the Scoot McNairy character and just be like, come on, man.
Do something.
Come on, do something.
At some point.
Yes. And then he never does. And I really appreciate that he never does.
Yeah, in the original, he does do these
Yes.
little things, but he is in so far out of his depth that he doesn't have any inkling of what he's playing against.
Yep. Yeah, in the original, he's barely losing these altercations. But maybe that's also part of Patrick's plan.
It is. I feel that Patrick is way more malicious than Patty. Like, it's just the evil, because he's playing with him everything is a giant game.
The difference to me in the two movies, the two characters, the Patrick and Patty character, is with Patrick in the original, he feels like a guy who it's all about the game for him. He enjoys the game. And with Patty, it's like he's won too many times, and he's just like, let's cut to the good part.
And
let's cut to the good stuff. And I do, even though they're doing the same beats, he's like pushing harder and harder than the original one ever did. In the original, I feel like that's the part that the character enjoys so much, and he does the other thing for his wife. Like he takes in the kids and does these things because his wife wants it to, but he enjoys meeting these people, destroying these people. And Patty's just like, yeah, this is always going to go the same way, and I'm going to have smile and have fun with it. And I'm crazy, and I'm going to put it right in the trailer. I'm crazy, and I was when I saw the trailer, the first of 1,000 times, I was like, out of your mind. You already know. You already know that you can't trust these people. You already know that the kids cut out. And then you see it and you go, no, I get it.
Was there a trailer for the original? I wonder.
Probably, but
yeah, I wonder.
I'm sure there was, but nothing we would ever see.
But I'm just curious now, like how did you present it? What would that have been in there? How do they sell that movie? Because it is so different.
I'm going to guess that they just focus completely on the aspect of like meeting new friends, and then, oh, they're a little weird. And you're just like, is something really happening here? Because again, one of the best things about that original movie is that for a long time, like the first half of the movie, you could buy until pretty much, I think, the moment where they go to dinner and he's driving on the wrong side of the road and he won't listen. And you're like, oh, this guy's nuts. I think right until that moment, everything can be kind of like, calm down. I know it's weird, but it's, we're trying to relax.
And it's all small. Yeah. And it is. He is so apologetic. There's not that like bristling intensity that McAvoy
This comes from
has.
the cultural problem that the second one can't do, because the cultures aren't different enough. Especially because even though they're American, they're living in England anyway. In the original, everything can be kind of excused to, oh, I'm sorry, that's kind of how we do things here. And you can buy it because, well, I'm not even in my homeland. Yeah. And I know that that's true in the second one too, but there just isn't a big enough difference between the way England is and the way America is. There's just not a big enough cultural difference. Whereas in the Danish one, whichever two countries it was, I don't remember, I could totally buy. Maybe that's just my ignorance, but I could totally buy, because they're living in the middle of nowhere, and their customs are a little different. Their language is a little different, and their English isn't exactly perfect. Like we're speaking the same language, but it's not exactly the same. And it's much. I think it's a much more difficult movie in a lot of ways, and I could totally understand people not wanting to see it or revisit it. But I think it's a better movie because not only is it the original one, it takes much darker turns that I really give it credit for.
It's funny. So they're two very different movies.
Yeah.
And the end result is the exact same for me, in that I'm probably never going to watch either movie ever again.
I think I'd like to watch both again.
Think so?
Yeah.
Just after having sat on it for a while, to rewatch them both and say, all right, maybe in a few decades I'll reach that point.
I think I'd like to, because I really want to go back and see the subtler version after having seen the Americanized version. And then after I see that, I'm going to have no choice but to watch the new one again, because I have to wash away the scars.
The rule of completion as well.
I'm not even fucking around here. I don't think a movie's ever hit me as hard as that one did. It hit me like a fucking truck. I watched it at like 2 a.m, just nothing going on, just sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm devastated, but I'm not sad. I don't want to cry. Yeah. I just feel empty. And I never feel empty.
That's what I don't like about those movies. I don't want my bad guys to be people, because people being mean to people is what is happening in the world around us. I know that's real. I don't need to be shown it, because, hey, I'm sad enough. I like my monsters.
Which is why something like When Evil Lurks it isn't as dark to me, because it's a supernatural
It goes hard.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does, and it kills children, and it does all the things you know
Right,
that would
which is
bother.
terrifying to me, but I can walk away from it.
Somehow it's not as bothersome to me. Well, they do kill a child in the original too, because they're done with that kid. They
Oh,
drown
yeah,
him.
right.
They drown him, and
I know. I was there.
They tease that in the new one, and I'm like, they really push it to the brink of is this going to happen? Because in both movies, he's got to go back for that bunny.
Wait, did the father save the boy in the second one?
Maybe he did pull him out.
I can't see. I can't. Because I'm blending the two now. I don't.
Yeah,
No, because he was just.
That's the problem.
Yeah, right.
But
Well,
the somehow when that little girl is in the back seat and you realize what's about to happen to her, she's gonna have her tongue cut out. She's gonna be stuck with this family, and she's eventually gonna go through the same pattern. It's way worse than the kid's brain getting eaten by his mother and when evil. It's way worse.
because that's people. That's people. That happened. I'm sure that happens in real. I'm sure there's some crazy guy with a child whose tongue he cut out, and some weird people who tried to make friends as adults. Like, I'm not saying the kid deserves what it got, but that's the parents really fucked up. They really dropped the ball on that one. You don't put your child in that kind of danger.
I always like little subgenres of horror, and there's Don't Go in the Woods. It's an easy one. And I feel like Don't Make Friends as an Adult should be just as obvious.
I feel like that's kind of there, right? To some extent.
How many success stories could there possibly be? And I'm not talking about don't find a new husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend. Do that forever how old you are. Don't make friends. Friends is a different thing.
Now, I've worked pretty hard to make friends.
Nope. Bullshit. Call them bullshit.
Really?
Yep.
Just this morning at the bus stop.
Oh, you making friends with children? Is this a Jeffrey Jones situation?
No. I heard a cawing, and it was two crows.
No.
It was two crows who were flying over my head making like different caws, not like the attention grabbing caws. They were like talking caws, and they were twirling. So much so that all the kids at the bus stop were like, "What are they doing? Are they talking to you?" And I'm like, yes, children, they are. They're here to say hello. So I've worked hard to cultivate that friendship and that relationship. So I do believe you can make friends as an adult.
Well, there is another friend you made as an adult.
Okay.
A man that came into your life just a few years back,
All right.
who's turning 61 soon.
Is it Nicolas Cage?
It's Nicolas Cage.
You know what I promised you? I promised you the freshest, hottest Nicolas Cage, the newest news at Nicolas Cage, which is good because I lost my notebook with all my knick-knack facts and all my Cage quizzes and everything. So it's just fortuitous that you are getting the hottest. This is all my end credits. Do you want to save the Nicolas Cage, or you want to?
I mean, I just did a segue into the Nicolas Cage.
So you want to do end credits? I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So the end credits for Speak No Evil.
Which one?
Nicolas Cage. All right, what was my Nick Cage? This is Nick Cage news. So I was listening to a Comedy Bang Bang, the podcast, and Patton Oswalt was on there.
Not the podcast, the book?
No, not the podcast, the book, the podcast. Patton Oswalt was there. And they were talking about getting, like in the superhero movies and the Marvels and DCs, getting into shape for it, and why don't you just CGI muscles over your body? And Patton Oswalt said he thinks he remembers that they CGI'd Nicolas Cage's abs in one of the Ghost Rider movies. I don't remember if it was part one or
Quite
part
the
two.
accusation.
And they both agreed that it looked pretty good.
Is that the news?
That was my news.
Oh, no. I thought there was going to be a follow-up on whether it happened. That's on me. That's on me. I don't know how I don't know this segment after 2 years.
So that was the newest Nick Cage news I could find to share with you. Although, now that I think about it, that episode was like from 2018.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
was
not
gonna say,
particularly new, but I just listened to it. So Speak No Evil credits.
Which one?
We'll start with the original one. It's there. First off, it's very small. I don't know if you stayed for the credits, but they're very, very small. So I had to squint really hard. I noticed that I can read Danish. Like there was a costume designer, like with a K, costume. So I'm like, ooh, I speak Danish now. So that was pretty good. Like a camera assistanter. I'm assuming that's a camera assistant. You're reading it too, right? You get this. Then we had, there was a boomer on set.
Oh, somebody in their 60s?
It just says boomer.
I'm assuming it was
and then somebody's name
they had on set.
That's my guess. Okay. I got very excited. If you stick around long enough, there's a weird like baby angel mural that appears and just kind of sits there. Like it's all black at first, and then this baby angel comes on and it just hangs out. And I was looking for a best boy. And I was figuring, since I read Danish now, what I found, and this kept popping up, Bellising Meester. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds like it might be it. It was not. That's actually like a lighting or something, illumination.
That's what Best Boy does, deal with lighting.
Now, do you
So
know?
you were still way closer than you'd expect you to be. Or you know the sections it should be in, so.
Do you know what? I looked it up. The Best Boy in Danish is Beste Jongen. There was no, and then I had to rewatch the credits again, so I actually watched the credits 3 times, but there was no Beste Jongen.
So Best Boy is just Best Youngin.
Yes,
That's funny. I think I can read Danish. If you give me a minute on it, I think I can figure them all out.
yeah. But there was no Beste Jongen, and then
Is this where Estee Lauder comes from?
maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe.
All right, moving on. So that was the first one. Now the second one already starts off better.
Because it's in English.
No.
Because
Eternal Flame is playing for some reason.
That's right.
I don't know why,
That's right.
but I got all excited to hear the Bengals rocking out for me.
I love Susanna Hoffs.
Everyone loves Susanna Hoffs. When she does that eye thing in Walk Like an Egyptian, I tried to show that to Kitty one time. I'm like, check this out. And she's like, what? She just looks at people. I'm like, shut up. If you were a certain age and a boy. All right. So anyway, there was not much going on in the credits of this one. There was a something called Petty Cash Buyers. I don't even know what that. I've never seen it before, so I made a note. There was a home economist. Harriet Hudson was the home economist for that movie. And get ready for this. There was not one, but 2 Best Boys. 2 Best Boys in this movie,
Good,
Brian.
one for each movie.
Yep. Well, Danny,
So which one of them is going to get banished over to Denmark?
I think I know the answer to that. There was a Best Boy, Danny Brennan, and there was a Croatian Best Boy, because I guess this was filmed in Croatia. So Slaven Spincic was the Croatian Best Boy, and I think he's probably closer to Denmark, so they'll send him over there.
Well, the other one, if they're over in Europe anyway, could have just been from Denmark. If one for sure is Croatian, it seems tough to be deciding the other one.
But this was
from closer.
This is the American remake.
But it was shot in Croatia, and that one person's Croatian, and the other one's probably European because he's in the bathroom.
Let's go.
I know. I can see on your face where you're going.
You're stealing my bits again. Damn it, Brian. I bring so very little to this podcast. Can't take them away from me.
On that we can agree. No, you got 2 segments. I don't have any segments.
So that was my end credits. 2 Best Boy. I was a 2 Best Boyer. You don't get many of those these days.
No, you usually get 0 now.
Right. It's
And
crazy.
those are 2 pure Best Boys, not even electric and...
Or gaffing or gripping. There's so many Best Boys that aren't just a Best Boy anymore. But it's always exciting. Good for that remake.
All right. Well, I think the remake is better than it should be. And I think all the choices are ones that I would never have made in a million years. And it's kind of proof that sometimes that can be a great idea.
I agree with you about enjoying it more than I really thought.
But do you think you
I
would
didn't
have?
enjoy the first one.
That's what I mean. Do you think you would have enjoyed it nearly at that level had you not watched the original? It
No.
seems impossible.
It would just be it would be a great performance by McAvoy, but in a very just forgettable script. There's nothing really to that's why I said I wouldn't watch either of these again, probably, because one, it just makes me sad inside, and I don't need to see that. I know I'm going to remember that stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's just a run of the mill, kind of home invasion movie.
Yeah, it's definitely way more fun than the original.
But I needed that. I do feel better as a human being having that second ending, just to kind of just suture up all of the emptiness that was there.
I never knew I needed it.
No,
I never thought it was even possible to do. And then when they start fighting back and you realize, oh, they're all going to make it out of here, and they're driving away, I'm just like, I feel like 2022 me is very happy right now. I don't even know if the person sitting in the theater watching the movie in 2024 gave a shit. But the 2022 me is like it's like a force ghost looking at me going, "We did it, brother." And I'm like, "We did it." It was devastating.
Yeah. You didn't need it because I'm going to remember the first one way more than the second one, but I'm going to remember the second one
Yes.
because it's a weird
Yes.
little. These are two.
It's like having two sets of memories. It's like somebody changed the past, and now you have two sets of memories. Now, I don't think there's other movies you can do this for, because there aren't movies with the level of desperation and just emptiness like that. There don't exist. There aren't that many. There are other movies that are dark and you could try something. I think this is the only real kind of movie, maybe the only real movie period, that this would have worked on.
And it's so weird that it's only 2 years.
I know.
It's just a 2-year turnaround.
I flat out believe that James Watkins watched the original, walked right out and said, we have to do something
fix
about this.
This needs to be better.
Because he's like, we have to do it immediately. I can't live with this.
I think you might be right.
And I agree. And that's the thing. When they said they were going to remake it, I never really thought that, someone's going to make this to fix those issues, not issues, to fix this story for these people, these characters that you cared about.
To save these people.
I'm going to save them. I thought it was just like, we're going to get a watered down version of this. That's not what we got. We got an amped up version of it that then radically diverts into something completely different. And I appreciate that it was doing that. And I completely agree with the original director. I understand. I can't imagine what it feels like to watch your work get, I'm sure in his opinion, bastardized like this and just become something that is the opposite of what it was.
You think so?
But because it's the opposite of what it was, that's why it works. Because you made something so singularly what it was that you could do the exact fucking opposite and it makes it relevant. And I think that is a compliment to his original movie, to be more than anything.
Yep. And having McAvoy there, even though he's over the top with it, who else is going to do it? Like, what else can you do with that role?
It's great. And I like that both versions exist. We talk about the Godzillas like this all the time. It's cool that we get the American versions, and it's cool. It's not as cool as getting the two versions of this, because these are so different. And I know the American Godzilla and the Godzilla -1 and Godzilla X Kong are very different. I get that. But they both come from the same place. Just people are misinterpreting it. This is madness and depression, and it became madness and joy. And I can't believe that it worked as well as it did.
It did indeed.
But definitely the original's better.
You and I have different definitions of what better.
Which is a better movie? Not which one I want to. Which one I enjoy the original more, because I can't replicate those feelings that I had watching it.
Well, realistically, the first one is the one that people will talk about. Like, that's the one that sticks in your head. Mm-hmm. Now you got me all hung up where you are with, how does the remake really stand on its own if you hadn't seen the original?
Couldn't tell you. I know that it's incredibly well made. It's got great acting. It's ramps up the tension really nicely for the American version of what it's doing. It reaches a perfect crescendo of, now the shit's going crazy, but it's going crazy in a way that's going to turn to your side, which is so interesting after seeing the original. But I think it's paced wonderfully. I think that it looks gorgeous. It's a better looking movie than the original. Everything technically about it is great. It's just getting the crux of its power comes from having seen the original to me. And it's such an interesting feeling. Yeah. And I wonder, like I said, I'll never know what it feels like to have just seen the original or seen the new one.
It is a weird little 1-2 of movies to have together and then try to fit into your brain.
Yeah. And I'm really glad they did it. And I never thought I'd say that. When the moment I heard they said they were remaking it, I thought, this is the worst idea I've ever heard of. And it wasn't. Not starting your tight end was the worst idea I've ever heard of.
I had stuff, a winter market, a holiday market brand. I bought all sorts of stuff. I had a butterbeer from Harry Potter.
Is that something where everything's good except the beer?
No, it's just like butterscotchy.
Yeah, everything's good with the scotch.
Also pumpkin juice. That was apple cider.
I don't have one for that.
That was apple cider with, I guess, like pumpkin flavor.
All right, so recommendation, watch the original and feel mighty depressed. But then know that you can have, you know what it's exactly like? It's exactly like when I finished watching Firefly and there was no movie coming. But then I showed Firefly to some people and I was like, good news for you, there's a movie coming soon. Whereas I had to live for a year or two without the knowledge that there was going to be an ending put on this.
Was there a movie coming when I watched it?
No.
No, we saw it when it was relatively new.
And when you put in that last disc and you just feel like this is horrible. That's how I feel at the end of Speak No Evil. And then now you can live in a world where it can't hurt you forever because you can go back.
All right. I think that's a pretty fair summation.
Yeah. I think you should watch both and just know that you're in for some deep, dark times. And then I think it will ratchet up the enjoyment of watching these characters turn the tables on them in a way they never could in the original.
And while you're watching?
That's why they never had the father fight back, because it wouldn't have narratively made sense. Like, that's the one thing that has to stick. Their biggest problem is that the father in the remake is incapable of standing up for himself and being an alpha person or doing anything helpful at all. And you have to turn the whole story around to the fact that they win, but it would be narratively broken if Scoot McNairy's character ever just stood up to him and punched him in the face. It just wouldn't work. Because that's the story they're telling. The story they're telling is they got into this mess because he is so
useless.
Yes. So you can't ever change the fact that he's useless.
You know who wasn't useless? The father from Psycho Goreman.
He was awesome.
He is the best. He is the best father I think I've ever seen in anything.
100%. And next week
is it Christmas movie time?
It is actually Christmas Day. You there? What day is this?
Bring me your fattest goose.
Yeah. I mean, I know that he's had a change of heart. I know that he's going to be a good guy now. But he's also still sending a boy to do his errands. Just go to the fucking store.
What else is that boy do? He doesn't know how to go to the store. What does a goose cost?
It's a goose.
What's a single banana cost, Brian?
It's $10. A goose popper, boy. What could it cost? $10?
Yeah, you know how it is. He doesn't know how to do. He doesn't even know where the store is. That's the nice. And that boy's got nothing else going on.
Well, how do you know that?
Look at him. He's a boy in Victorian England.
Was it Victorian England? I guess it probably was. When was that written? 1800s?
Yeah, that's when it was the Dickens, right?
Well,
what the Dickens?
I was going to say it's in the Dickensian era. But the Victorian England is when Queen Victoria was around. I just don't know for sure if that overlapped with.
Is that why they called it that?
Yes, I don't know.
So what was it the
Elizabethan era? I know you've heard these things, but that's the original Elizabeth. So
yeah, so that's where I was going. What was the last one called? And what is it now? Who's the king over there? Andrew?
No.
Was he the pedophile? Was he the Jeffrey Jones?
Yes.
He was the Jeffrey. Okay.
Charles.
So are we in the Charwillian era?
This crown won't hold me forever, Charles. We are in the Charleston Chew.
That's the era we're in?
Yep.
Okay. I get it.
Well, everything I know about England comes from watching The Crown.
Everything I know about England. What
but The Crown's pretty good.
Mostly Harry Potter. You know what I never understood? There was Peter the Great, right?
Yeah.
Why call yourself to go with the greatest? That way no one can top you. I thought about that a lot since I was a kid. If I ever get the chance, I'm going to make sure that no one can up me when I put a moniker on my name.
Next week's Christmas. Sometimes you just know segments are getting cut. Next week is Christmas, and we've all chosen our Christmas films in theory.
In theory?
Communism works.
In theory.
In theory, I have chosen. I think we all picked actual legitimately great movies, which...
Really?
And
are you saying we didn't pick good movies last year?
Last year you picked a movie you'd never seen before.
Was it any good? It
was all right.
All right, cool.
And Kitty picked the best movie ever, but it wasn't a horror movie.
I don't know. Being stuck in a building with terrorists is pretty scary.
And I picked a great movie that Kitty refused to understand was good. She just fought me on every turn on it. And that's how I spent Christmas last year. This year, though.
What do we got this year?
This year, we have 3 very different Christmas classics.
Lay them on the people, Brian.
I have chosen Black Christmas,
Never
1974. For the 50th anniversary, this proto-slasher where Billy's calling from inside the house.
So this was this is before Halloween, because that's the first slasher, right? Or seen as?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
That's where we decided the line goes. This came out 50 years ago.
Ooh.
And has some very untraditional ideas about what slashers are, because those rules don't exist yet. And it's a confusing movie at times. It's a fun one, though.
Okay.
And you get John Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street. He plays Nancy's father, and he's a cop in this, too, because he's got a cop face. And Margot Kidder, pre-Superman.
Ooh, I like Margot Kidder.
Foul-mouthed sorority sister.
Ooh.
And Olivia Hussey.
I don't know who that is.
Is the star of the movie. She was in Romeo and Juliet in 1968, and she was 15, and there was nudity, and they're sued over it like 50 years later. I don't know why I know all that.
I knew that too. That's weird. I guess it must have made the news at some point.
She also played Mrs. Bates in Psycho 4: The Beginning on the flashbacks with Henry Thomas playing a young Norman Bates. In a movie that is actually shockingly good. The only problem is 3 decades later, they made the Bates Motel prequel and it was better. So everything that it did good was kind of washed away by the fact that, well, somebody came and did it better. But Henry Thomas actually really good as a young Norman Bates. If you want to see Elliot from E.T. doing something dark, it's actually pretty good.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah. And Olivia Hussey's great in it. And I think we're going to enjoy it. But I think that you'll both like it the least of the 3 movies, to be honest with you.
What did Kitty pick?
She picked the Christmas musical, zombie Christmas musical, Hat on Hats on Hats, Anna and the Apocalypse, a movie that I really, really like.
I've never seen. You know why I've never seen?
Because you don't watch musicals.
No, well, I don't watch musicals, but every time I see it on the list, I see it's called Anna and the Apocalypse, and the cover for the screen grab or whatever it is a very like kind of short person, and I feel like it should be Anna Kendricks who is in it, and then I turn it on. It's not rational, but this is what I feel. And then she's not in the cast. I'm like, I'll watch it another time.
And she sings.
Yeah, I think that's why.
I heard her give an interview recently where they asked, because she directed her first movie. It was a movie for Netflix called Woman of the Hour. And
whoa, man.
It was pretty good. It didn't focus itself on the right things, I think, at all times, but that's a script issue, not a directing issue. It was interesting. And she was asked if, you like musicals and you sing so much, are you going to do a musical? And she's like, yeah, I thought that, I'll do a couple movies and then I'll be ready to film a musical. And then I saw an interview with Steven Spielberg where he said filming West Side Story was the most difficult thing he's ever done in his life. And I was like, Steven Spielberg? He's like, guess I'm not doing a musical. I was like, it's true.
All right, so it makes sense that I thought it was Anna.
Yeah.
Kendrick.
And it's Ella Hunt, who is not Ella Funt.
Are you sure?
It's not, because I know you think it's Elephant because you're always thinking of Ellen Funt. And your brain has gone down this rabbit hole on different words before.
Are you
Ellen Funt from Candid Camera.
Are you 100% sure this time, though?
Yes.
One of these times, it's going to take off its overcoat and it's going to be an elephant under there.
No, you think it's Ellen Funt.
It's sometimes him, too.
Who kind of looked like an elephant.
That's exactly my point.
This is a Friday the 13th Part 3 blue shirt situation all over again. I'm kind of having to agree with you now. And Pete, why don't you tell the people what you picked?
I picked, what is its official name? Because it came out a couple of years ago on Max, I believe.
Its official name is Adult Swim's Yule Log, a.k.a. The Fireplace.
Right. Where it's your Yule Log. It's a Yule Log fireplace for your TV screen.
Yep.
And then stuff starts to happen around it.
Yep.
And I only watched it one time, and I was blown away by whatever I witnessed. So now I need to watch it again.
And a sequel just hit Max.
That is incredible to me. I hope that I can watch them and watch the sequel before this, just so I have more stuff to talk. I'm so excited, Brian. This is a Christmas gift to me.
Well, let me ask you to do me a big favor. Please watch Anna and the Apocalypse and Black Christmas before watching Adult Swim Yule Log 2.
I can't
branch it out because I don't want to get down here and be like, I don't want to get down here and then hear, because Kitty will make you watch Anna and the Apocalypse with her. But I don't want to get down here and do my spiel talking about Black Christmas, the importance of it. And you go, that sounds really good. I watched Adult Swim Yule Log 2 branching out. Because I know that's what you want to do.
Oh, I do want to do it, Brian. Oh, I want to do it. I'm like, I'm shaking with how bad I want to go do it. It's so exciting.
But now that I've exposed it, it can't be done.
It does take
I know how his brain's working. I was like, but now it's funnier because he said he exposed it. Because now they won't expect it. What a twist.
It will be nice now that you fixed my TV down in the basement where I can watch things, because I can watch these movies down here. I tried to watch Trench 11, which I believe is zombies in World War II in mines, like in the tunnels, which on my TV that was pitch black, I couldn't see anything.
You were watching the 1998 classic Pitch Black instead of, I don't understand why your TV would do that.
I don't know either. There's something weird. I thought you fixed this thing. It's showing me only shows from 1998, no matter what movie I put on.
Did you see Pitch Black? I was like, it's 2000. Did you see Pitch Black before or after you knew who Vin Diesel was?
Oh, well before.
Me too. And I don't think that's true for everybody. I think that it's one of those movies where people watched Fast and Furious and were like, oh, I'm going to see all these Vin Diesel movies because I like them. But I thought Vin Diesel was so fucking good in Pitch Black.
When did the Fast and Furious, the first one, come out?
After. I'm pretty sure it's after, but he wasn't a star when he made Pitch Black.
No.
And I saw Pitch Black right away, and I was like, first of all, I love it. And secondly, I thought he's incredible in it. And then suddenly he's just like the biggest thing in the world. And I'm like, it kind of, you go back and watch it, it's like, I think he's never been better than he was in Pitch Black.
Pitch Black, I haven't seen the sequels.
Second one's terrible. Third one is basically a watered down version of the first one, but Batista's in it and Katie Sackhoff's in it. It's got a cast of people you'd like.
Okay.
But did you ever see, what was the name of the movie? Don't Watch Me Now.
No, I never did. I don't think anyone did.
What was that? Was that Triple X? No, I don't think that was it.
It was a Man Apart.
Man Apart. Don't Watch Me Now.
That nobody
I've been quoting that trailer for 20-something years.
So have I. Don't Watch Me Now. Then they didn't.
I want all that in here.
I say that one too.
I've never seen any of these Vin Diesel movies, but he's one of my most quotable characters. I have seen all the Fast and Furious just because I love those movies.
The things I'm about to do for my country.
The things I'm about to do for my country. That's right. Did you? I never saw it. Never saw the movie. Saw the trailer a bunch of times. Did you ever see the Christopher Nolan interview about Fast and Furious?
No.
He feels exactly like I do. He was asked, somebody brought it up, the series, because they did read he liked it. He's like, I know you love a guilty pleasure. Like, you like the Fast and Furious movies. And he's like, well, first of all, those aren't guilty pleasures. Those are actually great. And I'm like, I agree. They somehow transcend, because they know what they are and they're leaning into it, it somehow transcends being a guilty pleasure to just fucking very entertaining movies.
I can't think of an analogy. This, whatever that franchise is, right around number 5, is it when The Rock came in initially? It just, I saw the first one and the second one.
Yeah, I didn't care for the series until the 5th one.
Right. And I don't think I watched the other ones. And then boom.
5, 6, 7, 8, I fucking love them. And I mean, I don't even like action movies that much. I love those movies.
I don't like action movies. I haven't even seen it yet, but he catches a torpedo, The Rock does, and he throws it back at a sub in a car.
Yeah. The one time an ambulance fell in the right way, so he could just kick the doors open and walk right through it. And I was like, this movie's so stupid. I love, but I agree with Nolan. Like, there's real craft in this nonsense that makes it something different than nonsense. And I loved it. He immediately had to correct the guy. Like, that is not a guilty pleasure. I don't feel guilty about it at all.
What would a guilty pleasure be? Like, you murder somebody and then you get found guilty, but you enjoy it.
I think you nailed it.
All right, look at me.
We'll be back next week for Christmas, and it's actually coming out on Christmas.
Can I change mine to Christmas with the Cranks?
No. I thought about that I'd have to watch it.
I've never seen it. All right, so I'll stay with Yule Log then.
Yes, Yule Log, and in the Apocalypse, Black Christmas.
Coming at you
next week for actual Christmas. What a gift.
You're welcome.
What a gift we're going to deliver to the world.
You're welcome, everybody.
What did you bring? Frankincense and myrrh? What'd you bring? Scare Value Podcast, episode 96.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of my manger. All right. I don't know. It's not an ending line.
That's an ending.
All right. That's always an ending when you push stop. All right. That's it. I'm going to say that.
No, just baby Jesus. When Jesus walked on water, I always thought it was just like cold out.
I nodded my head like I was there, like, yes, I recall.
I always like, oh yeah, it's just icy. Like he's ice skating. So now Jesus ice skates.
I really did look at that like I was having a recollection.
I know, I saw it. I was right there with you. I was like, yeah, back then.
Yeah, I remember.
That's Jesus does.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, you can push stuff, whatever. Push it.
Push it real good? I don't know where I'm cutting this thing. I might have to move all that fantasy talk to the end.
Cut it.
Out.
Cut it.
Out.
Cut it like that kid's tongue in the trailer.
And then the Bernard Herrmann score was going behind it. All right. I don't know. Christmas.
Spectacular. No, it's not.
It's called the Christmas Spooktacular.
Ooh, I like it better. Good choice.
I always mix around the words. So there's the spooky season spectacular, because I thought it'd be too much spook to put another one in there. And am I allowed to say spook? And
yeah, they're spies.
And I put Christmas Spooktacular, the summer Spooktacular. I put it wherever I can, except the time that makes the most sense to do it. Because that's funny to me. Because that's what you get.
When you're getting jiggy with it, that's what you get.
I'm just going to hit stop. None of this is going to be in anyway.
That would be great.
I left on the manger line.
The manger?
Yeah. Get the fuck out of my manger.
Oh, yeah. That's a good spot to leave. Kitty kept calling it a creche, but I thought that's where lizards were born.
Creche. I've never heard that word before.
She went to God school too, so I tend to trust you guys on this stuff.
Wasn't he the guy that was in the compound in David Creche?
Waco.
Yeah, Waco.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
It would have been better if I could remember Waco and you could have gotten to David Koresh yourself.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. All right, I just did something.